What's going on YouTube? Welcome to the start of another Rembrandt Master Study. So yes, we are going to continue doing Rembrandt Master Studies because Rembrandt is one of the best, if not the best, old master to study for portraiture. The difference here though is in the setup. So we're going to do a sight size style setup. So what you have here is a printout. Not the best printout, but it's decent enough. Um, this is a printout on just regular printer paper of this Rembrandt, which is linked in the description box of this video to the National Gallery in UK. Really good site to find some Rembrandt pictures. So what we're going to do with the sight size is we're going to work the same size for the face onto this linen canvas panel. The palette is right over there. The colors may evolve as we continue with this painting. We're going to start off with raw umber, and let's just go ahead and get right to it. So for anyone that hasn't done sight size, it is the same size as your reference, or the same size as the model is relative to you. Now there are major advantages and there are major disadvantages to working sight size. Unfortunately, I think there are more disadvantages than there are advantages to working sight size. That is, number one, if sight size is going to be your only method of working, you're going to have a lot of limitations when you are painting from life. Painting from life is the goal. We want to be able to paint people in person, painting them directly. Hey Monique, I remember your name now, don't worry. Of course I remember your name now. So if you're painting someone directly from life, you're going to have the model right there. You're going to have their face right next to your canvas. And if you're working with an art group, like most of us are going to be working with, because let's face it, we cannot afford, at least I can't these days. I used to be able to, but we don't speak of such things. Afford your own model. I'm just moving my microphone up so you can hear me a little better. Afford your own model so that they are sitting right in front of you. What brush was I using? And it's a problem. However, sight size is much better if you are trying to learn how to finish the daylights out of something, how to really take something to the next level in terms of finishing is concerned. Hey Juani, thanks for watching from Argentina. Now these are the forehead, eyebrow, eyes, bottom of the chin. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to lock in the bottom of the nose. And this eliminates a lot of the guesswork involved in this. Let's see. A quick tip on how to restore some used pencils. That, I don't know really. The best thing, well, what I do with my pencils, if we're talking about like drawing pencils, I use pastel pencils. My camera's in a different spot, so I keep looking for my camera over there, but you're up there now. I use these little pieces of sandpaper. You can use any sandpaper. And I like to use this instead of, I don't know if this pertains to your question. I like to use it instead of a pencil sharpener, and I'll actually use a razor blade to sharpen the tip of my pencil. So at least that's how I use my pencils. But everyone's going to be a little different. Another thing you can do is you can use a caliper to get these proportions. Now, bear in mind that they're going to change. It's going to move up and down as I start to add things. So it will change. And it's not like pinpoint precision. It's not like hey hippie artist. It's not like I'm going in and I'm like right there to that millimeter, to that exact plank length of exactness. I'm not doing that. So with yep, no problem, Whiny. So with sight size, there you go. This is the chin, the mouth, the nose, the eyes, the eyebrow, the forehead. And the angles you can take from this as well, but it is a little harder to do that. So I'd rather, instead of having to do this, this, and then painfully hold my hand and try to get that, now I'm just going to draw it a little more freely and more freehand. Every time I do a sight size style study, I'll never get it just right. Like a person that will spend forever copying down the proportions just right, making sure that the angle of the jaw is just right. I try to give it my best approximation because when you're painting from life, I'm always going to talk about and relate it to painting from life. It's never going to be the ideal situation for you. Models are going to move. Lighting is going to change if you're working with daylight. People are going to complain and they're going to move the pose. Models are going to get tired and they're going to ask for breaks earlier on. Things are just going to happen that are going to make it so different from painting with this experience. Hey, hippie artist, this one is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but we'll do the best that we can. Hey, Kenny. Let's see. Hey, Jonas. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Swaran. Thanks for watching from India. You do watercolor. I definitely suggest starting oil painting, but watercolor is good too. Okay. Alright, so now I'm going to throw in an angle for the nose. This is where the eyebrow goes. This is going to give me the little triangle for the concavity of the eye socket. This is going to give me a rough estimate for the shape of the eye socket. Sight size is a method that's been out since antiquity. It's been out forever. We're placing down the tear ducts on here. So the drawing is going to look very analytical. When I was a youngster, I used to call these little lines here, these drawing lines, schoolboy lines. Like a schoolboy, a kid that's in school. That's what I used to call them in my head. Now throwing down the nose. Notice how I'm moving my arm about very freely. I'm not too terrified of this. I'm doing my best to forget about the fact that this is a portrait, forget about the fact that this is a Rembrandt, forget about the fact that I'm live on YouTube with a couple people watching, and just drawing, just painting. Remember that I don't differentiate drawing and painting from one another. That's something that distinguishes me, I guess, from a lot of people, but I do not distinguish drawing and painting from each other. Painting, in my mind, is nothing more than drawing with color. Painting is nothing more than drawing with color. Now, if we get the pinpoint precision down of the shapes, that doesn't necessarily guarantee a good painting. It is a good idea to get the shapes as accurate as you can, but don't marry yourself to these shapes. Keep yourself as open as possible to changes. And I'm always looking for the shape of the head and for the likeness of the model. So I ask myself, is the model's head, if I'm painting someone from life, for example, is the model's head like a guitar pick? Is their head like a diamond? Is their head like a square? Is it rectangular? Is it like a trapezoid? Is their head like a pill shape? And those are one of the first things that I will identify. Cast a shadow for the nose. Let's put some structural lines for the bottom of the orbicularis. So we're drawing a little tighter than I usually do in the beginning. We're not going to lose our bottom point there because that right there is absolutely golden. We don't want to lose that. Hey Jonas, do I know if there are any female greats like Rembrandt from that era? I can't think of any except for Frida Kahlo. So Frida Kahlo is a little past that time, but I will say Artemisia Gentileschi. If someone wants to help me out and type her name out, Artemisia Gentileschi. Let's see, so that's where the tear duct goes. Tear duct matches right with the wing of the nose. Artemisia Gentileschi is a Caravaggisti style painter around the Baroque era, which is this time period in history. Artemisia Gentileschi sometimes is confused with Caravaggio. She's that good. So definitely I would look her up. And I've done some Artemisia studies in the online classes. I don't know if I've done any on YouTube. If not, I have to. This tear duct goes a little bit to the left of the nose. So that point for the tear duct is correct. The angle of the eyes is not straight. The angle of the eyes is a little bit crooked. So one way that you can tell is to flip the image over. This works for some people, this doesn't work for everybody. But I'll actually look at the image from the mirror. And when I look at the image from the mirror, I'm looking at this one. I see that the model's left eye is a little bit lower than the model's right eye. The model's right eye is a little bit more open than the model's left, and reverse everything I just said because I was looking at the mirror. So, or not, never mind. The right eye is lower and it's a little bit bigger. So it's kind of like, I forgot his name, the guy from Harry Potter with the big eye. I don't remember his name. So I can now make an adjustment to the straight line and move this down ever so slightly. You see that? Ever so slightly from that position. Let's see here. Hey Swarn, as a beginner, can you please advise before starting oil painting? You know, this is one of the best exercises to do before you start anything really. Oil painting or acrylic or watercolor or whatever. Start with a sight size portrait like this. And I'm going to be teaching an in-person class starting, oh, I might have lowered that too much, starting on this Sunday in Glen Echo, Maryland. So, my online students as well, I start them out, Project 2, I start them out sight size. So exactly this, get a printout of good old Rembrandt. This one itself would be a good one to start with. I say it's a good one because the head is not in a very difficult pose. It's not in a very difficult angle. So it's a really good starter. This one in particular. The last Rembrandt we did, believe it or not, and the eyes are not looking in the right place. The last Rembrandt we did, believe it or not, is harder than this one. And that one has much less detail. So kind of counterintuitive than what you would think. Moody, Mad Eye Moody. There we go, that's his name. Yeah, kind of like Mad Eye Moody. I know because I'm on a Harry Potter marathon with my wife at the moment. I think we're in the, I don't know which one we're at, the Half-Blood Prince. Or we just finished that one. Do I draw as much as I paint? Hey Janice, a question from Meredith. Yes, and I said that when I mentioned that I draw, I considered painting to be drawing, but yes, I do. to drawing specifically without paint materials. And I do that as a lesson every, let's make sure that eyebrow's in the right place, every Saturday for the online students. And I like to draw with either charcoal, medium charcoal, or pastel pencil. So this gives me the most important information already. And it doesn't have to look at all like the original yet. That doesn't matter. What matters is the placement of things relative to one another. Now we're going to sketch out the shadow shapes. Yep, no problem, Meredith. I mean, to prove it, this one, I haven't added any fixative to it, but this is the Sargent sketch. And we usually do these drawings in about 1 hour. 1 hour. I've got some other ones, but I post them on Instagram. Those quick 1 hour drawings. Alright, so let's sketch in some shadows. For the palette, if you look in the description box, oh, thanks. For the palette, if you look at the description box, the palette says N/A, not available. This palette is a custom-made palette. This is not available in stores. It is probably the highest quality palette you could ever get, ever. And by that, I mean I took a piece of plastic from, I don't know what, I think from when I bought some headphones. I cut off the piece of plastic and then I put some construction paper behind it. Highest quality palette ever. But it works. I mean, it does its thing. It does what it has to do. Hey Jonas, you're a Harry Potter fan? Awesome. Yeah, that's, my wife loves that. We're sketching in some shadow shapes. The paint is rather thin. I thin out the paint with just raw, or with just odorless mineral spirits. So just Gamsol. The panel is held through 4 neodymium magnets. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I'm probably not. They're called rare earth magnets. Though they don't seem that rare because you can get them anywhere, it seems. Hey, Bean Pot. But this is the problem with it. If I paint very aggressively like that, the magnet moves. So it's kind of annoying. It's not that strong of a magnet. I'm telling you, the start is going to look like a demon right now. It's not going to look very aesthetically appealing. And the model is quite graceful. She shows her age, but she wears it well. So I'm using the light, the shadow, and some midtones like that. Some careful little midtones. I'm not that careful with it. I'm trying to keep myself about an arm's length away. Loosening up as much as I can. Trying not to get too tied into anything. Should have probably tested this out. I'm doing a Nelson Shanks study on my own using this same method with the same magnets, but I'm not drawing as aggressively as I am here. Hey Hansel. Cancel dog. Well, thank you. Meredith is, let's see. Yeah, his finish is a very thick finish, but a lot of that has more to do with the paint that he used. Back then they would, I'm not saying that he wouldn't use a different technique than what other people use, but back then their paint was very thick. The lead white that they used was not the same as the lead white that we use today. And in fact, today you can still buy the type of lead white that was used by the old masters, and that's called a stack lead white. Stack lead white, like a stack of cards. Stack lead white, and it is made through a different process that I won't go into too much detail with because I don't know that much detail about it. I don't want to give you false information, but it's a different process than how the lead white is made today. But it's thicker, it's heavier, it's more coarse. The particles are more coarse. So that alone made his paint quality different from what other people do. Man, I need some stronger magnets. And in fact, I do have a stronger magnet. I will be right back. Now don't play with this at home, everyone. This is a super strong magnet. Now when I say super strong magnet, this thing is like nothing else. It's a really heavy, really heavy, heavy duty. Like you can hear it, right? You hear that? That's how strong this thing is. So I'm gonna put it back here. I'll try not to mess up my speaker. So I put a stronger magnet there, and I hope it'll hold it better. A lot of it's probably the grip, to be honest. The grip underneath it. So, in an effort to not be too cheap, I'm gonna put some tape under it to keep this thing from moving. Because the last thing you want when you're doing sight size is what's happening to me right now. You don't want this to be moving that much. You stay put, canvas. Stay there. Gotta talk to the canvas sometimes. Will it work? I don't know. Thinning out the paint. ASG. So let's face it. In the beginning, the start of this, I mean, it's gonna look like Darth Vader when Luke first took his helmet off. I'm sure everyone remembers that scene. But it's gonna look like a creature in the beginning. And we just gotta work through that. Loosen up. Don't get too tight. Believe me, if you get too tight too early, you're not going to enjoy the process as much. Loosen up. Notice where I'm holding the brush. Notice how I'm moving my arm around. You use sticky square, huh? Sticky square back pads. I gotta look that up. I think I know what you're talking about. So let's stick to the back. I'm gonna have to look into that. Yeah, with live streams, I always gotta problem solve. Have I ever used tempura? I like shrimp tempura. No, I'm just kidding. No, I haven't used egg tempura. And if I have, It was probably when I was a kid and I don't remember it. I'm using all bristle brushes. So sight size, as you notice, got us through those proportions very fast, very efficiently. I have no worries at all of elongating things, although that looks elongated. No, it's just, it needs to be lowered. I'm not even gonna mess with it. I'm just gonna leave it as it is. We already used the sight size for what it was needed for. But anyway, I don't have to worry too much about major proportions. So it's good in that respect. Hey Terry, how many sessions will this painting take? Whew, I don't know. I really don't know, but probably a lot. We might end up working on this one a little more. But usually I end it at about 3, even if I don't finish the painting. And that's because I lose viewers. A lot of people get bored after I get to the 3rd. And I'll just finish it on my own or just leave it as a study. Unfortunately. But if I get more people interested, then I will continue it as long as it takes. I'll take as long as it takes. If it were just me and I wasn't streaming this and I didn't have to worry about the live stream at all, then I'd probably take about 5 sessions, 5 maybe 4-hour sessions painting it. So about 5 times 4 is 20, so about 20 hours. 20 hours to paint this. And notice this isn't even perfectly flat either. So I'm a little loose with it. I'm not like that precise. I try to let the brush flow work about the same as I usually do when I'm painting from life. Let's see. What are you holding to hold that canvas up? These are rare earth magnets, really strong magnets. Here and here, and then this is a piece of tape that I just put on there. Not the best setup. Do what Monique says. She uses sticky pads. I'm gonna see if I can buy some. I like to work on a middle gray tone because it helps my lights look like lights. My darks look like darks. Oh, by the way, this is gonna look smaller relative to you simply because this picture is closer. So the camera will distort it. It's a little bit early to talk about distortion, but it should always be mentioned. Notice how the features are more or less just suggested in the correct spot. Let's see, Meredith. Her headpiece is executed by Rembrandt in a way that takes your breath away. Pretty much just like a little strand of lead white paint, probably with a Sable brush. Or with a really fine bristle brush. Yeah, totally. Rembrandt did an excellent job with this. And I'm drawing as much as I can with the umber. Remember, this is raw umber. But soon I'm going to transition into stacking on some color and turning form. They're called sticky back fasteners, like Velcro. Oh, I know those, like with the Velcro. Time to go to Target. Not sponsored by anyone. And when you have a one-to-one comparison, it makes finding mistakes so much faster. So that's one major advantage. And I don't have to look at an iPad screen for so many hours. I usually use the iPad, but these days I'm working a lot more from imagination. Definitely check out my Instagram if you haven't. I'm getting ready to post a new finished painting, either later tonight or tomorrow. I finished it today, photographed it. I photographed it just like an hour ago. So Terry, when you use raw umber, it seems like it gets too dark. It could be the brand sometimes. Like this is Winsor Newton. This is a little darker than like Williamsburg. So it could be the brand. I'm gonna be making my own raw umber soon. I bought the pigment. It could also be the tone that you're using. For example, like if your tone is too light, like if you're working on the white of a canvas, it's gonna look really dark. Little sketch lines to show the direction of the forms that I'm going to be modeling and someday. I'm still being very careful though to make sure that light and shadow remains dominant. The distinctions between light and shadow. And Meredith, oh, it's not that complicated to make my raw umber. I have pigment, and I don't recommend anyone do this. I'm always going to say this on YouTube. I don't recommend anyone do this. Pigment and oil. Pigment and oil. If it's very fine pigment, you don't need to grind it because it's very fine pigment, like raw umber. But just mix it with a palette knife. With whatever consistency you want. If you want slow drying, use a slow drying oil like walnut oil. I don't see why anyone would do that though with raw umber because it's typically supposed to dry fast. So I will use linseed oil and a little bit of alkyd in it to expedite the drying time even more than this. Thanks, Gina. But to everyone that is not a full-time artist, do not make your own paints if you can avoid it. That's because there is a huge risk of inhaling the pigments, and if you inhale the pigments, you can't undo that. You can't uninhale the pigments. It's like working with lead white, right? If you accidentally, for some reason, decide to do that and then lick it, you're in some trouble. You can't undo that trouble. You can get by just fine using only titanium white if you're afraid of the lead part of it. I'm gonna see if I can sneak this underneath, because I'm gonna be working on this for a while. There we go. That's using your noggin. This is a really useful thing to be able to do. It's a crutch in some sense, but who cares? We want to get the best result possible. Do you ever make up the colors from scratch? From Meredith? No, I'd have to go to like a, I don't know, like the mountains or something and look for particles and do some chemistry stuff. And no, that's maybe I might want to do that one day, but today, and I've never done that before. Let's see. And if you were to do a master study like it's traditionally supposed to be done, um, from the original painting, you're not going to be able to sight size it. There's no way I'm going to be able to get permission to have a Rembrandt painting right there. No way. No, it doesn't matter how famous I am or how rich I am, unless I bought the painting. That might be the only way you would be able to do that. You gotta buy the Rembrandt. I can't imagine somebody would buy a Rembrandt or be able to buy a Rembrandt just to paint it sight size. Uh, that's just, I mean, that's just wild. Hey Gina, oh good. No, no, I'm not recommending to make any. I don't recommend it. But yeah, it's so easy to just, like you said, buy some oil paints and just go right at it. Do it. Nothing's stopping you. At least I hope not. I don't know. And like I said, everyone, you'll always get the truth from me, even if it's to my own peril. I'm telling you the truth as it is. I'm making my own pigments, but I don't recommend it. The risk is not worth it, especially if you're not full-time painting. You don't need to do it for a living, then don't make your own paints. Not worth it. And at this moment, I'm just trying to use up the raw umber that's left there. Once I use it up, we'll start mixing some color. The thicker I paint, the darker it goes. The thinner I paint, the lighter it looks. Hey hippie artist, you're working on one of my other studies. You can do whichever. I mean, you can have a balance between this one and the other studies. They're all valid. It's up to you. Look at that. Finally used up all my raw umber. Hey Gina, you paint every day and you're in love with watercolors. Let's still make cards with acrylics. Cool. I'll use whatever you're comfortable with. The class that I'm going to be teaching on Sunday, that's going to run for 9 weeks, is it's an introduction to drawing and painting, and I say that any medium, students can use any medium. So my Viridian is slipping off a little bit, and that's my fault because that's my Viridian I made. This is mine and that's mine, the Cadmium Red and the Viridian. I'm actually going to use lead white and titanium white. If I can find my titanium white. Lately I've gotten a little more acquainted with titanium. And if I keep sounding like I'm further away, I apologize. It's because I'm moving back and forth relative to the microphone. There's some titanium white. Hey, Lizardo. Yeah, I make my own paints for the cost. That's the reason. It's cheaper for me. I accept the risk. I will do the best that I can not to contaminate myself. That's the cost. But not just the cost, though. I'd be lying to you if I said it was just the cost. I don't know. I just always wanted to try it. It's also curiosity. So I'm just kind of curious with it also. Curious to the sense that like I want to know what it feels like to be making my own paints. And see how loose I am with these shapes. I could care less if I'm getting it exactly right, because I know I'm gonna be building onto this for a while. So burnt sienna, Viridian, white. Those are your colors that you're seeing right there. The Sunday class is live. It's in person. So no, it's not on Zoom. But I have a class on Zoom at 5 today. So 5 my time. Now I threw in some Viridian and Cadmium Red. So every which anywhere, kind of. Just whatever. Throwing down shapes. Shapes of color. And I'm going to be working in that style. Be bold with it. Don't be too timid. Just paint. It's not going to hurt you. Oh yeah, Meredith. I do wear a mask. My mask is right here. I should wear a better one than this, but I do wear a mask when I make my paints. It's kind of like a rite of passage too, I feel like for me. Totally not worth the risk though. Let's see. Hey Paul, how often do you paint portraits from life? Do you paint commissions, portraits from photos? Well, I haven't done any commissions in a while, other than like a pet portrait I'm working on at the moment, which I took the photographs myself. So that's one of my conditions, though. If I'm going to do a commission, my condition for commissions is that I have to take the pictures from life. I have to be there to take the pictures. What was I saying? Oh, I paint from life at least once a week. Whether it's a self-portrait or I go to a painting group. For example, if anyone's following me on Instagram, I'm going to post a painting really soon. I just photographed it from a live painting session. So what I do with my paintings is I paint from life with the model. If it's a figure, which is mostly the case, I paint 100% from life for the body, for the torso and all that stuff. Then I take pictures for the face, for the hands, and then the background I use my imagination. Combination of imagination, reference, and life painting. Let's see. ANSH. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm glad you decided to join us. I hope that you will enjoy these streams. Can Meredith get a builder's mask? Well, I guess so, yeah. Should. I can get a chemical rated mask at the hardware store. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna do that, yeah. Hey Terry, do Do I work on this on the same painting? Yeah, I'll be working on this one for a while. So I should be back if all goes well. I'll be back on Tuesday. Tuesday I think has been my most consistent day. So I should be back Tuesday, and we'll be working on the same one. So yeah, I would recommend if you want to work on the same painting that I'm working on. That would be great. And yeah, you can share it on the Facebook group that I made specifically for viewers of this stream. A respirator would probably be best for the particles. Yeah, probably. Yeah, and I probably shouldn't mix them right behind me on that chair. So yeah, I know there's a lot of health concerns with it. Hey, Ellen. Oh, thanks, Monique. So Ellen and I decided on this painting together. I guess it was kind of one-sided. I kind of chose it, but Ellen was with me on the one-on-one Zooms. So today I did 3 one-on-one Zooms. This live stream that you're seeing here, documenting a painting that I recently finished. And then I'm going to do another a Zoom lesson at 5 my time. Hey Gina, I think making another 3-dimensional like you just did is amazing. Oh, I did? Oh, cool. I didn't know. I don't know if it's that 3-dimensional yet, but the secret is light and shadow. Light and shadow. You can do it. Be fearless, throw down some shapes, and work with those shapes. Don't be too afraid of making mistakes. Oil paint is very forgiving. Oil paint gives you that luxury of, it basically tells you, don't worry, I'm not going to dry until like tomorrow, so you've got time. So I need these darks in order to place the lights more appropriately. Hey Hansel, not art related, but how's your bearded dragon? I got 2 of them. One is, let's see, they're doing well. They're doing fine. They're probably due for another doctor's visit soon, but they're doing fine. One is a he, one is a she. I keep them separate. I'm not breeding them. The oldest is 5 years old. The youngest is 3. Actually, the youngest is 1 year younger. The youngest is 4. The female is called Pepper. She's a red-orange color. The male is called Saltino. He's a leatherback, standard color. But they're doing good. They are doing very well. Thank you for the question. Hey Meredith, I definitely recommend it. This one is a great one to do. Hey Gina, I don't live in Washington State. I live near DC, Washington DC. I live in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area. In Maryland. Let's see. Hey Paul, do I have an episode on my channel about my filming equipment and microphone? And tips on filming myself? Let's see. Do's and don'ts of YouTube. I should watch such a video like that. I myself am not a very good example of filming equipment and the do's and don'ts of YouTube. I'm just being honest with you. I'm not that good with that because I lose internet like half the time that I'm here, um, which is terrible. But I think I might have figured out why. Um, Hence, we're not losing internet right now. I just jinxed myself. But I can tell you what camera I use and all that stuff. I'll type it down here. Hey Meredith, no, my wife doesn't paint. Hey Planet Videos. This is a really good camera, by the way. I'm not sponsored by anyone. But this is a camera that you're looking right now from. It's a Canon T7i. I got it, well, I don't even know, like 2018 or something like that. I don't know why I'm using a Sable. I don't even know what I was mixing for. Whatever, I'll just put it down there. Oh, and the microphone. You want to know the microphone? It is a Blue Yeti. Blue Yeti stereo microphone. That's what you're hearing me from. But I mean, honestly, I should be using a clip-on microphone. I had one, but it broke. And I'm like a foot away from the Blue Yeti microphone. Throw in some accents for the nose. For the wings of the nose, double check the proportion. It's good enough. While we're at it, let's put some dark accents for the lips. Oh, thanks, Ellen. It's a really simple palette. It's just white, burnt sienna, cadmium red medium, yellow ochre, alizarin permanent, viridian, and ultramarine blue. Consistency is going to get you places, everyone. Work at it consistently as much as you can, and you will improve. It's impossible not to. It's against the laws of physics for you to work consistently and not improve. And what helps even more is to have the right teaching, the right teachers. I was very lucky with my teachers. So I have a light brush now and a dark brush and a Sable. Notice how I'm going right for the impact of light and shade. Wasting no time to go and put in that shadow. And what's even more precarious right now is I don't care about the rendering. I don't care about the in-between light and shade. I just want the light and shade. But I am throwing down some highlights and stuff. It's a very free, fluid application of paint because I know how immensely complicated it's going to be to turn the form here. So I'm giving myself enough of a head start that I'll be able to come back in later and pull this together even better. Hey Gina, the best way to get these simple skin tones is white, burnt sienna, and ultramarine blue. White, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, or you can use white, burnt sienna, and viridian. Basically, white, burnt sienna, and some kind of blue-green. That is because a lot of skin tones, most skin tones, can be simplified into a pink or an orange. No matter what the value is, no matter what the color is. There's no such thing as a palette for a specific ethnicity. That's a myth. There's no such thing as the perfect palette. Oh, thank you, Gina. Thank you for the super chat. That means so much to me. Thank you, Gina, for the contribution to my YouTube channel. That helps me out so much. I'll say even the Zorn palette is not perfect. It's not the best palette for all situations. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you're glued to your laptop watching Gina. So I will likely be doing these streams between 2:30 and 3:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So if you look up whatever time 2:30 p.m. is in Washington, D.C., and that will be around the time period I will be here between Tuesday and Friday. Not every day. I cannot guarantee I can make every day. But I'm doing the best that I can to be here more consistently during that time frame. So you see there, my lead white and my flake white are right next to each other. They're hanging out. They're buddies. It's like gears to a car if you drive a stick shift. More acceleration is the lower gears, right? So more acceleration is the lower gears. So the titanium white is like the lower gears, more acceleration. And to have more control, you want to use slower gears. So for example, if you have a fast car, you're not going to be cruising. If you have a Lamborghini, you're not going to be cruising around the streets of New York City in second gear or first gear. You're going to get a speeding ticket in 2 seconds. You're probably going to cruise around third or fourth gear. So that's where the lead white goes into play. Hey Meredith. Oh, thank you so much for that comment. I'm so happy that I appear to be improving. I hope that I am. I'm working very hard at it. Relentlessly these days, it seems. I have a hobby to keep me well balanced, which is pocket billiards. I'm so terrible at it, but it keeps me balanced. Well, thanks, Gina. I have a cheap little 6-foot pool table in the living room space. So sometimes I'll have my Nelson Shanks study like right in front of one side of the pool table, and I'll do a few practice shots and then I'll paint. Do a few more practice shots and then I'll paint. It keeps me balanced. Definitely devotion is key. The super chat is a function enabled by YouTube so you can tip your favorite creators while they are streaming live. That's the best explanation I can think of with it. Notice how I'm keeping these forms really simplified. Very simplified. I'm giving myself room. The looseness is like breathing room, relaxation. That's what the looseness does for you. If it was very tight, if it's super perfect, you're going to be afraid to make a mark. And if you're afraid to make a mark, you're not going to enjoy the process. If you don't enjoy the process, you're not going to want to do it. If you don't do it, you're not going to improve. If you don't improve, you're going to be mad at yourself. If you're mad at yourself, well, the list goes on and on and on. So just keep it loose, keep it consistent, keep it light and shadow primarily, and you'll be fine. It does get more complicated from there, but as long as you focus on light and shadow, that is a huge portion of the battle already. Hey Gina, oh, you wrote it down? Oh good, I'm glad. And you can make various different skin tones with just, like I said, the burnt sienna, white, and ultramarine blue. You can make more pale skin tones. You can make more pale, just use more blue. Less pale, then use more burnt sienna. Very simple. It's a great mixture to start with. And even just do a whole painting with it. You can. And then if you want to go a little bit further than there, look what I'm doing. I'm using Viridian and Cadmium Red. Red and green are complements, so they neutralize each other. They are opposite on the color wheel, so when they meet together, they form a nice neutral. Yellow ochre and Viridian into that same mixture I said will also neutralize each other, but give you more of a greenish undertone. Now I gotta put more shadows. Hey hippie artist, can I make sap green to look like Viridian? If you use a lot of sap green, then it can look like Viridian, but in general, Viridian doesn't have the tinting strength that I mean, not sap green doesn't have the tinting strength that Viridian has. And I'm gonna want to have the white of this thing to relate to when we return to this. So I'm just gonna estimate it. Again, I'm going with Viridian and Cadmium Red and some Cobalt Blue. A little bit of yellow ochre now. Not that much lighter. Not that yellow. Well, that's the difficult thing. Now I gotta kill yellow. I gotta use purple to kill yellow. Hey Susan, what is your palette? Well, the palette is lead white, titanium white, burnt sienna, cadmium red, medium, yellow ochre, alizarin, permanent, viridian, and ultramarine blue. And I started the drawing off with raw umber, but I don't use it to mix colors. That's pretty close. Not exact, but it's close enough. So I want to have this to relate the skin tones to when I return to this. Because we're going to work through the middle tones. That's the tape, I mean the magnet. I think the magnet actually just fell. It would fall because there's nothing to hold it up, but whatever, I'll just leave it like that. And I won't be able to mix on that dot. I'm gonna I'm gonna see if I can do exactly what Monique said and buy those sticky dots to put on the back. And I want to just have something to relate to. Even just a little spot like that will be good. So I can have some values to relate to next time. Now this is a lot to ask in 1 hour. A lot to ask. So take your time. You don't have to work as quickly as I do. I always tell my students online that you do not have to work at the same pace I do. Some of you will work faster, some of you will take more time. But different strokes for different folks, right? Take your time. We all get to the same place eventually. I don't need to rush it. You're not on YouTube putting your very soul on the line, so no need to rush it. Now remember that these darks will sink in next time, meaning they won't look quite as dark. And I mix my own darks. So Viridian and Alizarin are my primary darks. Viridian, Alizarin, and Ultramarine Blue. That's what I'm using. And this is exactly how I would start any painting. Even if I was just doing a sketch that I was going to finish the same day, I would do it the same thing. Now, granted, I don't use site size, hardly ever, but the method of which I'm painting, at this point, site size isn't really doing anything. It's just there to help me see the shapes a little more simply, for lack of grammar. Some values there to help me out. Alright, so we're going to paint for a little bit more, as we're well past the hour now. Remember, please feel free to ask any art-related questions while I'm painting. I don't mind answering your questions. And it helps with the channel if you ask questions. Although I will say the chat did go really nicely today. And I hope that everyone shows up again on Tuesday around the same time. The more of you that show up, the more sessions I'll be able to put in each of these paintings. Oh, thanks, Monique. Oh, thanks, Meredith. Hey Susan, let's see, what do you use to oil out Neo-Megilp? Um, yeah, Neo-Megilp, Neomegilp. I know that you can't see it, but I was just reading it off the tube. The tube. Yep, around 2:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Tuesday. If for some reason I'm not there Tuesday, I'll be there Wednesday. If for some reason I'm not there Wednesday, then you know. Between Tuesday and Friday, those are the days you're likely to catch me here. And don't worry everyone, this will be available as a pre-recorded video absolutely for free on YouTube. If you just joined in near the end of the video, don't worry. It's not going to be my last live stream either, so you'll see me here. I really do prefer the live stream format over the pre-recorded these days. Frankly, I hate editing videos and I like connecting with everyone. So just before we head out, everybody, tell me where in the world are you? Where in the world are you watching this stream from? I want to know. Whether you're in Florida, whether you're in North Carolina, whether you're in Scotland, whether you're in India, whether you're anywhere, just let me know. Where are you? I like to know that I have viewers from all around the world. Makes me feel kind of special when I'm having my morning decaf coffee. Question from Meredith. Why Cad Red, not Vermilion? I would use Vermilion, I would. The genuine Vermilion if I had it, but it's a very hard pigment to find. Oh, thank you, Gina. Thanks, Monique. Ooh, we got Sydney, Australia, Connecticut, Boston. Hey, Cyan, it's too difficult for me to go deeper after the first main relation. It can be, and that's why it's important to keep things really workable. Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Ohio. John McGeekin, what's going on? Scotland. You know I mentioned Scotland for you, right? Venice. Oh, nice. Oh, thanks, Gina. Ooh, there's one I don't know how to pronounce. Qatar. Awesome. And John was laughing at what I said about the... I said Scotland just for him. Keeping it loose, simple, making sure I have a decent enough underlayer to refine next time. Hey Joanne, you just happened upon this. Let's see. Oh, cool. Well, yeah, definitely. This is in a playlist that I keep forgetting to save, but it's a public playlist. So if you look up live oil painting sessions Yupari, it'll show up on YouTube. I hope. Sometimes I won't even clean the brush. I'll just use whatever is on the brush. And if whatever is on the brush doesn't work like that, I'll just mix something into it to make it work. Very fluid. Pronounced Qatar. Oh, okay, Qatar. Have a great weekend, Meredith. Oh, thanks, hippie artist. Let's see, what time is it? I can still paint a little bit. I'll basically paint until I get to a point where I'm like, okay, that'll be a good layer to build on next time. But usually, yeah, usually I just limit it to an hour. And then if anyone's in the Maryland area watching this either live or pre-recorded video, I'll be teaching at Glen Echo in a school called Yellow Barn. In case you want to take an in-person class with me. I'm very honored that my Sunday class has is full. I've never had a full in-person class before. But then ironically, I didn't get enough students to run the 2 other classes I proposed to teach there. Go figure. Pretty decent underlayer. It's loose, the proportions are where they have to be. Not perfect. I could have done much better in different aspects of it, but I'm not going to dwell in the negativity. Well, thanks for watching, Monique. Oh, we got a viewer from Texas. Awesome. Now we'll go straight to the lead white. And we'll mix a warm yellowish skin tone, and you know exactly where this is going to go. The lead white is very heavy, so the thickness will definitely be apparent, especially if you look at it close up. This will be multi-layered. I'm going to work on this. Right now, this is one single layer. This is the first layer. But yes, this will be multi-layered. You can see how thick the paint is. So I'm going to give you some advice for impasto, for thick painting. Alright, check this out. Oh wait, you can't see. Oh, I guess you can see what I'm doing. Look how thick this is, right? Okay. For those of you impasto lovers out there, especially if you're painting a Rembrandt, you gotta do impasto, right? How heavy this is. And I had to use the lead white for this. Absolutely had to. Alright, here's the next step. Get a clean brush, preferably a softer brush, and steer the paint. This is a clean brush. Steer it so you can choose the thickness that you want. I don't much care if I make the value too light, because I'm going to go into this later anyway. Lead white is a very solid color to use for this. If you don't have lead white, just use more paint. You're going to have to use more of the darker colors. More of the darker colors, less of the white. And then, to top that off, I don't want anything to dry in chunks, so I'll use a fan brush. Just lightly go down, across, like that. That has created some chunks. So this is why I call it steering the paint. I'll do it again. And now it's a smooth and thick texture, similar to what we see on the Rembrandt. That is a good starting point for what we will do later. So I like the thickness, the crust of the paint to crust, like the crust of a pizza, to follow the form of the forehead, the form of the nose, form of whatever. But we'll get into more of that later. Hey Gina, no, I haven't seen that painter. Making my own lead white might be a little bit beyond what I'm comfortable with in terms of materials. Alright, so that is a good place to let it dry until Tuesday. And yes, there's some stuff that's a little bit, you know, like that's too sharp, that's too sharp. There's some things that I would have softened for sure, but it's okay. Our major proportions are still in check. Notice that from here to here didn't change. From here to here is still good. Still good. Still good. Still good. So we're in a good place. The width might have changed. I can kind of look at it and see that the width needs to, or not, I guess. It could be a little bit thin on my end, but the width, we will add more to the shadow next time. Cool, I didn't know that, Gina. Thanks for the info. And for everyone watching, I'm going to type now. Or any last minute questions? While you're typing your last minute questions, I'm gonna move the camera so you can see it with less distortion. So there it is with less distortion. You see that it is the same size. I'm a little bit further from the microphone, but I hope you can hear me. Hear me all right. And just for a second, or I guess a minute or so, we're going to switch over to my little ad here. Let me make sure I don't look too small. So, as I always say, if anyone's interested in taking their online art education with me further, please check out my online classes on patreon.com/yapariartist. The classes start out at just $10 a month. So the link for that is in the description box of this video. Is it a camera? Let's see. Let's see, the painting looks more pink compared to the reference. Or is it because it's the underlayers? I don't know. I mean, it's not going to be exact. To me, on my laptop, this looks more pink to me than that, but I don't know. But in the beginning, the color is not going to be perfect. Yes, those are my online classes. Hey, Sienna. Oh, because of makeup? I can see that, but I don't know. I think makeup is a little different. But I don't know. What do I know? I know nothing about makeup. So just hanging out for a little bit in case there are any last minute questions. Eyes definitely need to get wider. But like I said, it's a good starting point. And one thing that really works is if I take my glasses off, I blur my eyes, and I see I've got light and shade, some middle tones, and the background values. And that's a very good place to be for the next time. Hey Yuri, my favorite color? Brown. My favorite color is brown. Favorite color to paint with? That varies from week to week, from painting to painting. Um, Favorite color to paint with, I think for me, is Viridian. Just because I finally got Viridian back. But my favorite color is brown. Well, thank you, Gina. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Alright, so it looks like we don't have any last minute questions. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Remember, the schedule for these live painting sessions is between Tuesday and Friday around 2:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Those are the times you are most likely to find me streaming live on YouTube. I cannot promise that I can make every day, but I do my best to be here as frequently as I can. Thank you all so much for watching. I wish you the very best in all of your artwork, and I will see you on the next one.